soup. The huge reason why I don't watch. I can't pronounce half the show.
That's actually pretty funny.
I'm not even kidding. I can't. Even this episode, I was trying to like pause it and like go back, and I'm still saying it wrong.
You're like Odo,
yeah, Otto.
And that's the easy one.
Yeah.
That's the free throw.
Well, you're thinking Odo because of everything else that's spelled differently and weirdly, and
Well, no, it's weird because especially the Targaryen names are pretty out there, but you still got your Robs, your Roberts, Brandon, Kevin Lannister.
That's actually the best one.
But the problem is, like, even Damon, it's like, or Emma, Aaron, they spell it weird.
Right. Yeah, they throw you
Damien?
off.
Is that how you say his name?
It's Damon.
Damon? Oh,
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
it's just Damon.
See?
Damon Wayans.
You saw that, what's his face, made it a cameo?
That was fake.
It was fake?
Yeah.
Really?
Jamie Lannister?
Yeah. Fake?
It looks just like him.
Wow.
Yeah, that was fake.
I fell for it.
I did too for a second, then the first reply was, it's fake.
Wow.
I like that. Checks and balances.
Well, that's me with the internet. First post, oh, that's totally true. First reply, I guess it's not.
Nothing's like this past,
That's just how it goes.
Yeah.
this past April Fool's Day. I forgot what day it was, and I was just getting beaten up all day. And I'm like, oh, today's April 1st.
I've gotten good at that on Twitter. I've become very aware of it on April 1st.
I believe everything I read, so.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you and Stephen A. Smith's burners replies. That's your focus group.
That and Ballsack Sports.
What is this brief mortal life, if not the pursuit of legacy?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup. I am Beau Oliver, joined here today with Aaron, the Nerd Soup Monkey, and Nash. And we are here to review the first episode of House of the Dragon, the Heirs of the Dragon, a little spoiler discussion in the vein of our previous spoiler discussions when we would review Game of Thrones, get more in depth with this review, talk about some scenes, talk about some things that maybe we didn't mention on the first review. And happy to be joined by you two. Nash, this is your first Game of Thrones related review.
Yeah, this is special.
Well, no, you watched season 8 with me, but you had no idea what was going on.
And season 7.
Yeah, so this is like your first time actually starting from the beginning.
But I was just sitting on the couch looking like a flounder with all the mimosas that I would drink on Sundays. And I would just want to be a part of the group and not want to, because you all used to get together and watch Game of Thrones. And I'm like, I want to do something.
Yeah.
So I'd just pick up a couple
FOMO.
man cans and just sit there slumped over.
Did you see the apartment building in New York City that had all the TVs in the windows playing House of the Dragon?
Yeah.
And honestly, I can't remember in the meantime between Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon that appointment-style television where everyone was at their TVs on at 9 p.m. I think Succession had a little bit of it, but, you know, a lot of the way with streaming, especially the biggest shows, have been some of the Disney Plus shows or Amazon shows that come out, you know, Thursday mornings, Friday mornings, so everyone's on a different time. Like, with House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, it's 9 p.m., everyone's watching, and people are going to talk about it. It's like watching a sporting event where if LeBron hits a big shot, you tweet about it, and like, wow, it's crazy. No one's going to be like, hey, spoiler, because that's just, no, it's not what it is. It's
right.
live TV, a live event. Everyone's got to be watching.
I wish these streaming services would do that as well. I hate this midnight release. It's just out.
Well,
Because
HBO
it's the
Max,
day.
even though it aired on HBO at 9 p.m., a lot of HBO Max still starts streaming at 9. So they have a set streaming time.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that at all if Disney Plus started saying, hey, this Marvel show is going to premiere at 8 p.m. every Wednesday.
Yeah, instead of like 6 in the morning.
Yeah, it's stupid. I think it's bad for the show. It's bad for word of mouth. But I just want to let everybody know that you can follow us on social media at Nerd Soup on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Beau Soup, at Nerd Soup Monkey, at Anthony JQ Nash. And you can also listen to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, all of those fantastic places.
And YouTube, great job last time, guys. You know, bringing the comments and keep doing it. You know, I read the comments. I read all of them.
I thought you were talking about
most of them. And like when I tell you I'm going to read them, I'm reading them. Like the Game of Thrones one recently, I didn't because, you know.
You weren't on it.
Yes, I wasn't on it. So, yeah, and I just want to apologize. My voice is a little raspy. Went to Yankees Mets last night, screaming my head off. So bear with me here, people.
Sure, that's why they won.
Oh, yeah, I was bringing the energy. Especially when I got, like I told you guys, I got down in the 8th inning, got real close. And I was screaming, Bristol! Rizzo!
I tell you what, nothing's a bigger rush than sneaking down to get like the rich people seats.
Oh yeah, it's the best.
Not getting caught.
It is the best.
It's so funny because I sat down to like with these two guys and they're like, we're not gonna say anything, just sit down. They start like look at these peasants.
My
down
good
here.
man.
Yeah.
And I love
Take
when
a load off.
when I actually do splurge and get like nice seats, and it's just like, I don't belong here.
Yeah. No, because we have the bleacher creatures like, embedded in us, so it's like we don't belong down there
It's
anyway.
part of our DNA, yeah.
Yeah. So
We're all
but-
Littlefingers when it comes to Yankee Stadium.
Yes.
You're never born into the Starks or to the Lannisters.
Nope.
Got to work your way up. Got a Littlefinger your way in. And it was supposed to be Teddy on this review, but he's getting a haircut.
Absurd. He's an absurd human being.
So wait, he canceled coming to a podcast because he had a haircut.
Yes.
He couldn't come after the haircut.
He has
No.
a kid.
He can't keep getting away with this.
All right, well, let's get into the episode. Nash, I'm actually, if you don't mind, we'll start with you. I'm excited to hear your thoughts. Coming into it fresh, you don't have that same experience with Game of Thrones, but just as a series, just as a show, a high fantasy introduction, what did you think about this first episode?
I mean, I'm not going to lie, going into it, I thought I was going to absolutely hate it. That's just not like my cup of tea when it comes to shows, but as the episode went on, and we were making the joke off air too, it's like the big reason why I didn't watch Game of Thrones, like when it was out, I can't pronounce half the show. Again, bear with me here. I don't know how to say most of the names, but this is just like Rhaenyra, right? I'm still saying that wrong?
Rhaenyra.
Close
Rhaenyra?
enough.
Okay, Rhaenyra. Whoever that actress is, because I'm not very familiar with her, she is fantastic already.
Yeah.
She is unbelievable already. I really, really enjoyed this. The episode went on. It just got me more involved to the point that I'm going to be watching that every Sunday now.
Awesome.
Like, this is like...
Keep Teddy on his toes.
Yeah, because this is just from the dragons to the whole family plot. It kind of reminds me of Succession a little bit, the way that they're beefing
Dude,
within the
that's
family.
what we talked about with Succession, to get like people that we knew to watch it. It's like the politics from Game of Thrones set in like corporate America, and it's very similar in a lot of those instances.
Yeah.
Did you find it like at all hard to keep up with what was going on, like the social hierarchies and the different positions? And
Oh, yeah.
Because I feel like this show, more so than the pilot of the original Game of Thrones, which I still think it takes a while for you to catch up to the show, even in the beginning of Game of Thrones. But this one, I think it relies that, people are going to have some understanding going into it. So I thought about that after I watched it. If someone new was jumping in, first experience of Game of Thrones, wanting to start at the beginning with something, if it's going to be a bit of a learning curve there.
Yeah, it definitely was hard to keep track. And again, it's just the names kind of, and just the way that their language, how they talk, how they speak, is kind of hard to keep up with. But I think I'm getting the gist of it. And just from being around you guys for years with this, I'm trying to put the pieces together a little bit. But, oh yeah, it's awesome. And like I said, it's not my cup of tea with it almost feels like a medieval, like, empire kind of thing, and that's just not what I'm into, but this is pretty sick already. And I could always get down with some dragons, That's badass. When it comes to the creatures, I'm in. I'm totally in.
Right. I guess that's the gamble they made, is that the Targaryen appeal, the dragons, the power, the sexiness, the hair, all that stuff would be good enough, and it would be a good enough a strong enough selling point to bring in not only Game of Thrones fans, but possibly new viewers who haven't seen Game of Thrones. And I don't know, people have been calling it a bit of a gamble, but I guess because the episode was so good, it doesn't feel that way anymore. And it's not like the story is so good that it just tells itself, because it's not a fully fleshed out story like the first Game of Thrones was, or even the first Game of Thrones novel. They're working with more stuff when they were starting that series. With this,
Yeah, even a lot
it looks like they've made some changes too. That's, we'll talk about that as well. But.
a lot of the source material is secondhand accounts.
Right,
or
right.
non-primary sources. So whereas Game of Thrones,
in a way,
first,
this is confirming some stuff. This is establishing some canon.
but you also have a liberty to change a few things because it is not necessarily reliable sources. The big events, yes, but some of the more intimate details you can have some fun with. So it's interesting to see how they're going to play with some of these things going forward. But yeah, I think the main we didn't get the numbers when we did our initial review, but it's coming out that it was the highest premiere show in the U.S. this year, as well as the highest viewership for a series premiere in HBO history. So right off the bat, you're getting a lot of returning fans from Game of Thrones, and probably a lot of new people too. So that's definitely a good sign.
Yeah, and also too, I felt like it was a little too late to watch, even though I definitely could have fucking watched Game of Thrones. But again, I've been with you guys for so many years, and all the spoilers have been given away, and I know people have said that the show is just still fantastic. Watch. There's a lot that you don't know, but I know like the Red Wedding, and I know all the big stuff like, oh, you raped her, you murdered her, that scene they used to play at parties I used to go to, I definitely could have caught up, but like now with this, it kind of feels fresh. With it being a prequel, I could kind of maybe jump in from this to regular Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah, and I think those first 4 seasons, the story, you're just going to get so lost in it. So even knowing some of those bigger moments, I think they'll sneak up on you a bit. But yeah, I think with this, for returning fans and for new fans, it is such a strong introduction to the world. And I think the new reports was that it's $20 million per episode. Mm-hmm. And you really see it, man, the scale of this show. It's, you obviously in season 1 of Game of Thrones, the tournament doesn't look as grand as this one. And I don't care about the continuity here. If you have the money, spend that money. So the scale, the size of everything, I really just appreciate that. This is, it's getting as close as possible to the world that George has envisioned. So that's really what just stands out about the opening scene. I mean, just the look of Harrenhal, it looks so epic. And then, flying over King's Landing, the Red Keep, obviously it's still under construction, and then the tournament, and not only the look of the tournament, but the way they're fighting. It was so intense. It was so brutal. The armor, the music, and especially when they start splicing in between the tournament and the childbirth scene. It was on rewatch, that was just so incredibly edited. It reminded me almost of the first scene of The Godfather, where Vito's taking the different favors while they're partying outside. The darkness contrasted with the light. They're all cheering, celebrating, having a great time, and something horrific is happening inside. But on rewatch, man, also the dialogue was so well written. The scene between Otto Hightower and Damon at the High Council meeting. The way they were trading barbs back and forth, the way he got under Otto's skin, it made me cringe, man.
He's so out of pocket. Like, obviously the big one was Air for a Day, which is brutal on its own, but getting left under the radar is him just talking about his dead wife.
Just egging him on.
And his even like going back to Viserys and kind of how weak he is, or doesn't really take things too seriously, was just like, brush it off. Your wife is dead.
Yeah, the way he was trying to moderate between the two of them. Yeah, you made a good point.
But your wife is
dead, but maybe you shouldn't be so mean. Let's all hold hands, guys.
What that reminded me of?
Gets flipped on him, he gets all mad about it.
To bring up another mobster relation to it as well, them going back and forth is kind of when, in The Sopranos, when Janice goes through like anger management and Tony's just provoking her at that table and then she snaps. It kind of just seemed like that too. Like he just played right into his hand. And I could already see how these politics are going to go coming into this blind. It's
right. They
so
set
sick.
that up so obviously that they're going to be rivals.
Yeah.
That's not it for them.
Right.
Even though Damon was sent away at the end, he's going to wiggle his way back in.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, that's what's so
Can't keep that man in the
He's
veil.
a worm. He already seems like a worm.
Yeah.
I already see it,
That's what's so great about, like, Game of Thrones and these characters and this show is that they're going to take two characters who are both have real issues and that people are going to hate for different reasons and pit them against each other. Or pit them against each other in these scenes, and you're like, well, who do I root for?
Yeah, and a lot of people seem to have the same reaction to Otto, rooting for him in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then after the scene with his daughter, when he pushes his daughter on King Viserys, thinking, oh, wait, he's a scumbag too. Even though he's a bit more polite, he's got more manners. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup between them. But I think it was between the big three for this episode, and they all happen to be Targaryens, where Millie Alcock as Rhaenyra, Matt Smith as Damon, and Paddy Considine as Viserys. They were just so good as Targaryen royals. So well casted. And I think a lot of people, it's going to be interesting to see when they do that time jump, when they switch from Millie Alcock to Emma Darcy. Everyone seems to agree that Millie Alcock was awesome.
Yeah, we were talking
Yeah.
about that the other day. Like, people are keep talking about her performance and how much they like this character. If you grow attached to this character for 6 episodes and then they have the time jump, it's still going to be the same character, obviously. But and Emma Darcy is I'm sure like they're going to be great in the role. But if you get attached to one portrayal of Rhaenyra and all of a sudden you have a different portrayal, it could be adjustment. And if they're both great, then no one's going to really talk about it. But still, you might feel like you're missing out on what she could have done with this performance had she have been Rhaenyra throughout the whole series and started at this point and kept going into the later seasons.
Right, and as much as we love the gray and complicated characters, everyone loves a good hero. And I think Millie Alcock really portrayed that in this first episode, a character that people can gravitate towards. She was very charismatic. She's a young actress. She's only 22 years old, so you're wondering if this is a potential movie star in the making. But I saw a lot of people
22?
Yeah, she's young. So I
She
know
looks
that,
younger than that. That's what I'm saying.
right, I know that she's definitely supposed to be younger in the show. In the book, she becomes the heir when she's 8, so she's obviously not 8.
Oh, okay.
But I don't mind all that. Obviously, King Viserys has been aged up a bit, just based on the actor who's portraying him. But what matters most is that the actors fit the roles, and they give off the impression of a family who have been together for a long time. It's not just a cast of characters in wigs and in fancy costumes. You really feel like there's a past, that there's a history here. Even for characters like the Hightowers, obviously the confrontation that Damon and Otto have, but you see it through the actress who plays Alicent, the reaction she has to Rhaenyra talking to Emma, knowing that now we know that Alicent just lost her mother, that she gives her those sad glances of, I wish I could also have this too, that I'm still in mourning. So they did draw a lot of nice parallels between them through their friendship and through their interactions.
The one thing I was reading up about this show too was that they were going to kind of dial it down from the sexuality and the graphic bloody goreness, and it's like, okay, well, this guy's head was bashed, guy's dick was cut off, guy's arm was cut off, there was a giant orgy while he was giving a fucking speech.
Did you guys notice the guy who stopped fucking
Yes.
as soon as Damon started his...
I mean, it's
What's
They were the
going
guy
on
in
over
doggy
there?
style, breaking his neck backwards to listen to the speech.
a
He
show.
did the owl neck.
It's a show of respect.
Yeah, it really is.
He's mid-pump. And
Yeah.
He stops it.
That was
Just so
hilarious.
listen- yeah.
But I have to think that they were just setting us up for this, coming out and saying there's not going to be graphic violence and sex. And then there just is.
And sure
Yeah.
enough, some guy's head is bashed.
Right, it's way more violent. I'm trying to think of a season 1 episode that's as violent or graphic. But Damon with the City Watch, that's some of the most disturbing imagery they've ever delivered. Like
Yeah.
you said, guys' appendages being chopped off, the way they were pointing out people, it was so evil. It was
Yeah.
so nasty.
Yeah.
Murderer!
Yeah, it was, and
No, I'm not.
Me?
what did I, me? What did I do?
Petty criminal, maybe.
Right.
I think you got the wrong guy.
Jaywalker.
Parked in a handicap spot.
Use the handicap stall.
You motherfucker.
Yeah.
It seems that
Damon
it
just
seems.
executing them.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's not like the judicial system we know today, but like it is very much eye for an eye. Like he was. You murderer, I'll take your head. You are a rapist, we'll take your dick off. So he's doing justice.
He's the law and order candidate.
But like, also you
Nixon.
don't know. He probably has no idea who these people are.
Yeah. But you know what they say, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth leaves the world mumbling blind. So
Yeah, no, good point.
I stole that
That's
from
why Teddy wasn't bringing that.
Killer Mike.
Nice.
Well,
Hope
it's
he
always
gets a
like-
cameo like in Ozark.
Yeah. It's like sick.
It's like, oh, you steal an apple and we take your hand off. It's like, I don't think that doesn't equate.
No.
Maybe I give you an apple.
Maybe a finger.
Yeah.
Not a whole hand.
Yeah.
Maybe the pinky. Take off the pinky. It depends, though. Granny Smith, you're getting your hand cut off.
True.
Delicious.
The speech he gives to the City Watch, too, was so epic. The way he's hyping them up.
Pack of hounds.
Right,
Now,
yeah. Yeah, they
Yeah, that
start
was sick.
howling. They start banging their spears and shit.
I want to run through a
His
wall for that
cadence
guy.
reminds me a little of Ramsey at times.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I could kind of hear that.
He's an ugly dude, though, man. He looks like an oversized, deformed elf.
That's been the big debate over Matt Smith. Is he hot or ugly?
Oh, I can answer that one easy.
I don't know.
I think the answer is somewhere in between. He's a hot, ugly man.
Okay.
But we need more hot, ugly people in Hollywood. I like when weird faces are on my screen. We have to, a lot of face stuff going on there.
Right.
We could do a whole pod on that.
Yeah, it's kind of like the
we
Office
won't.
episode with Hilary Swank. Is she hot or not?
But when they have the first scene between Damon and Rhaenyra, and he's sitting on that throne, the swagger of the way he's sitting. You just get so much from that very not a brief introduction. It is a full scene, but right from that first shot, you know that this guy you can't trust him. He's up to no good. He's kind of sexy, but he's kind of not.
You can really tell a lot about someone how they sit on the Iron Throne. Say it will about Joffrey. He owned that throne when he sat on it.
Right, and apparently he used to sit that way because it was so uncomfortable. So he said that was the most comfortable position, but it just made him look so smug.
Yeah.
Definitely had back problems after sitting on that throne.
Well, look at
I have
Viserys.
to imagine.
And I love that whole, the old saying, in the Song of Ice and Fire lore, if you get pricked by the throne, then you're not worthy of it.
Yeah, he got pricked a couple times, right? So do you think that injury he was being treated for is grayscale? Do you think that...
No, I think he said he got cut up by the throne.
Right.
And it's not healing correctly.
I figured it was just a wound that wouldn't heal.
I think you could just
Speaking to the whole theory
Yeah.
of, if you don't deserve the seat,
Yes.
you're going to keep getting cut.
So that's what I think it was, a little metaphor, foreshadowing, how the throne is kind of just taking them apart piece by piece, something along those lines.
Yeah, because I saw people's, sorry Nash, before we get to your question, I saw people wondering if he had grayscale, and I thought that the maesters at that time would know what grayscale was. It wouldn't be something that's a medical mystery. I always thought that it was pretty well known. But what was your...
The question was that, and I raised my hand for people that can't see, but I'm in a classroom. This is like the two professors of GOT right now, so...
Hot D.
Or, yeah, excuse me, Hot D.
So people are calling it?
That's what George calls it.
Hot D?
Hot D.
Nice.
That's fire. Grayscale's like when they turn into stone, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a disease associated with Old Valyria. That's
I
where
had
the
it once.
Targaryens originate from.
How do you get rid of it? Or you can't?
Apparently you just pick it off.
Yeah. Apparently it's actually...
It's like a scab?
Right, there's no cure, but there's a very simple cure. You just have somebody with really steady hands pick at it.
The one thing I did want to say about Damon, too, that one line that he said when, he was giving his speech at the, in the orgy room or the, the whore room or whatever.
Brothel.
The brothel, yes, a more appropriate way to say it. Where he said air for the day. Oof. That's got to sting a little bit, you know?
Right, yeah. A lot of people have been commenting on how brutal that line was.
Yeah, that's feeling yourself, He thought he had it in the bag. He's like, this is my fucking moment, this and that. And, wow, what a dick. That was a dick move.
The way they set up Damon is interesting because Viserys says he doesn't have ambition for the throne. And I don't know, it's like these people are bored with their lives. When you have everything, when you have this immense power and wealth, what are you supposed to do? He doesn't want to spend time in the Vale, so he's just been gallivanting around, as Theon says. He shows up to court, and the first thing he does is maim and butcher people because he thinks he's enforcing the law. So it's like, what do you want? And I think a lot of these characters end up in situations where they're not living for themselves, they're living for this idea of what people perceive of them. So I'm a Targaryen prince, right? That means, where do I go from here? Targaryen king. But is that what he really wants? Because he does seem to truly care about his family. The scenes between him and Rhaenyra, I felt, were very genuine and sincere. I was thinking the other day, Daenerys' character. A lot of people thought she was going to become the Mad Queen, and there's some writing on the wall. But it gets to a point where you've conquered Meereen, you're the queen of this incredible ancient city, you've got all the power in the world. What more could you want? Westeros. But why? Why are you doing this? It's because is this you believe that it's your destiny, that you were born, you were put in the world to be a conqueror or to be a king or to be whatever. So I think, obviously Damon has made a strong impression on the fans. And I think he's got potential to be one of the best characters of the show, if not the best.
He wants that throne. I truly do think that he wants it. Kind of symbol. Well,
He's someone that I feel like would just be bored being king.
Right, yeah, you
Yeah.
become king and then what?
Yeah.
Right, what's next? Become a god?
I thought maybe it was a little bit of a, symbolizing that the first time that they show him in the show, he's on the throne.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I might be reading into it a little bit
And
too
that
much.
is
but
hella disrespectful. That could get you killed.
The Kingsguard was shook.
Yeah, the Kingsguard was very shook.
It's like, wait a hot second here.
Gondali.
Well, jumping jelly beans. Is he on the throne?
And she's like, LOL, chill. It's all right.
Calm down, bud.
Yeah.
Well, that actor, he's been in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
He's been in Wheel of Time. And now he's in the Game of Thrones universe. That, for many high fantasy fans, that's the big three. So he actually, on rewatch, I liked his character. I liked how he's sort of Rhaenyra's buddy. She asks him questions, and he tries to fill her in. It's I always love those relationships in Game of Thrones. You know, the good, honorable mentor for the budding psychopath. Well, we'll see. I'm just, after what happened with Daenerys, every young, blonde Targaryen woman, I think, is going to go crazy. Maybe that says something about me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Can't
Got
trust
your own
these
problems.
silver-haired women.
So I was just reading the report. Oh, sorry to cut
It
you off. Harry.
reminded me
saying-
of Barristan and Daenerys. That's why I
Yeah.
made the comparison.
No, I was saying, like, we know you support Andrew Tate, so. I'm joking.
Well, no, Andrew Tate has been banned from Nerd Soup, so
Okay.
that's official.
So stupid. Oh, my
You know what I
God.
got a kick out of too? The first introduction to King Viserys, the punchline of a joke. I love when movies and shows do that. And then I told him, well, why don't you take a look at my wife? Ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
We'll never know if the joke is funny. I would love to direct a scene like that. You guys got to belt out laughing like you just heard the funniest fucking joke ever.
Well, it's
But that-
also the king. You have to laugh.
Right, yeah. Man, but he,
That's
Patty
what I-
Cons.
If I was king, if people didn't laugh at my jokes, jail.
Dead.
Well, that's like in The Sopranos, right? When he's looking at them all laughing at his jokes in slow
Yeah.
motion and thinking, I can't stand these fucking bootlickers.
Yeah.
I hate my life so much.
Yeah, because that's what they say about comedians. That you don't know who really is your friend because when you're a comedian, everybody just laughs at everything you say. I have that
Yeah.
problem all the time.
Look, I'm laughing right now.
Yeah, seriously.
But even that first introduction to the king, there's so many great scenes, I think, with Viserys, but he's so good at portraying different mental states. When he's introducing the tournament, he's so charismatic, he's so sure of his words. But then when he goes to visit his wife in labor, he's dumbfounded. He looks like an idiot, like a stupid kid, the way that they're explaining this to him, because he thought that things were going to go his way. And like I mentioned on the first review, counting your chickens before they hatch. So the emotional roller coaster
Literally.
that this character, right? The emotional roller coaster that this character went on. It's not easy to portray all those different, the highs and the lows and the mediums. He was incredible. On first watch, he was the one that stood out to the most to me, and on second watch, this guy's one of the best actors out right now. He's
Yeah.
definitely one of the best actors in the show, arguably the best. But such a great casting of brothers, and I thought they were both great in their roles.
Right, and they basically, quote unquote, like complement each other well, where, we were talking about him sending his brother back to the Vale, not having that presence around, even though they allude to him not being in court for a while here. But you already see with Otto and Corlys and some of these outside influences trying to kind of convince the king or persuade the king one way or the other. When Damon's around, that's not going to happen. So, like, kind of him being on the weaker side but having such a strong presence with his brother, you can kind of see, like, maybe those two extremes kind of even out. Like, they kind of find the middle ground with their dynamics and are able to be kind of effective. But without Damon around anymore, it's interesting to see how the vultures come and try to pick him apart even further.
It was funny when Otto's complaining about Damon being in charge of the City Watch, and Viserys starts pulling those receipts. We gave him this job, you said he was a tyrant. We gave him the treasury, you said that he spends like crazy. What the hell do you want from me, Otto?
Yeah.
But that is interesting because Damon says, why haven't you made me hand? And Viserys doesn't, he's like, why the hell would I do that? So it doesn't seem like it's something that he's contemplated, and maybe in a different timeline, if Damon was the hand for these first 10 years of their reign, he wouldn't be as so extreme and as explosive in some of his actions. Because they could have been a good pairing.
Yeah,
But
even-
who knows? That's ancient history at this point.
But even Viserys, like, he is considered weak by the people around him. He still has some of that Targaryen arrogance too, like the way he can simply think he can manifest the sun. And we've talked about, like with Daenerys, not necessarily arrogance, but the belief, like the confidence that they can do anything they set their mind to. I can make a son. I can go take over Westeros with all the odds stack against me. You have other examples like Aerion drinking wildfire, Daemon talking about being more closer to gods than men. So Targaryens don't lack confidence, that's for sure. even
that was an interesting
on the weaker side.
Yeah, the idea that they introduced there at the end, that the Targaryens trifling with the dragons, and the Valyrians in general trifling with the power of the dragons, is what brought about the doom. That it wasn't a power that they were supposed to have, and it destroyed their incredible empire, the most advanced empire the world had ever seen, and forced them to flee over to what they considered a backwater, Westeros, and then take that over and become a new superpower. That's an interesting idea, because we've always theorized of what happened in Valyria, that we'd love to see a show about it, but I kind of like this idea too, that it's not solidified, but because they went ahead and took the dragon eggs from the volcanoes, mined the dragon glass, all of these different mystical and magical qualities to their powers, that it eventually came back to bite them. Well, not them, because they got the fuck out of there, but all the other Valyrians, and obviously not House Valerion.
That was interesting too, sorry. The idea that, they kind of have an idea of what's to come. And we talked about Targaryens with prophecy. Obviously, the reason why they left Old Valyria was the prophecy that foresaw the doom, and they went to Dragonstone and kind of established there for a little until Aegon was like, let's just take the rest of this.
Yeah, why not?
But yeah, I mean, that's been talked about, I think, a lot in the books. Rhaegar being obsessed with the idea that the prince that was promised would come from, be one of his sons, and I guess foreseeing the long night in a way. So this idea that it's been in the Targaryen family, this prophecy for a while, I think it makes sense if you connect it to some of those aspects of the books. But yeah, I think that's a very interesting thing they put in there.
All right, guys, before we get to the second half of this review, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor for today's episode, Smile Brilliant. I'm sure that everyone can agree that we live in stressful times. Whether it be the economy, the political climate, balancing work and home life, all of these things lead to stress, which is the most common cause of grinding your teeth in your sleep. The damage of grinding and clenching in your sleep can be irreversible, resulting in worn-down tooth enamel, cracked teeth, chipped teeth, and infections. The cost of cosmetic fixes can run you thousands of dollars, and night guards at the dentist can cost anywhere between $200 to $600. Yikes. But with one of Smile Brilliant's affordable, custom-fitted night guards, you can return to a peaceful night of sleep without worrying about any potential damage to your teeth. Right now, if you visit SmileBrilliant.com, you will receive 20% off all products, simply by using our promo code NERDSOUP. Their night guards run as low as $45 per guard. Plus, they have a great selection of other great products like whitening trays, whitening gels, electric toothbrushes, and so much more. And remember, you can head on over to SmileBrilliant.com and use our promo code NERDSOUP for 20% off all products. So don't wait, hit that link, and take care of your teeth. So it's so important. So important.
Yeah, and I just wanted to piggyback off of two thoughts before that I didn't want to cut you guys off on, but the one thing I wanted to talk about was the interaction that the two brothers did have and him sending him away. If you want to talk about, the acting back and forth, probably the best scene in the episode with them just going at it. That dialogue, the emotion, you see how upset that he is, and then he snaps and he's like, all right, you're done. Get the fuck away from me. Going from like almost sobbing to like just stone-faced. So I wanted to talk about how great of an acting performance that was from both of them. The second thought I completely forgot. I didn't want to cut you guys off, but there was something that Aaron said. What were we just saying? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, the arrogance of the Targaryens. I mean, you see it as he's holding his wife's hand saying that everything's going to be okay. When he knows damn sure everything is not going to be okay. Just the arrogance to look somebody you love in the face knowing that they're going to die just to get an heir, their son, and that doesn't even end up happening. So, you cut your nose off to spite your face, whatever they say that is.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the arrogance of that, just to look at somebody that you love, that you know is going to die and tell them everything's going to be okay. Yeah, when everything was just disastrous and they knew it was going to happen.
And he knows it. You could see it in his head, what he's doing to this woman that I think he does love, but it was a absolutely horrific thing to do to somebody.
Right. Especially, the Maester said that it was either they both die or they can try to save the kid. But
they were like, it's a decision that some men have to make.
Yes. But like,
we're not going to ask Emma.
Not even like mentioning it, be like, oh, everything's going to be okay. But yeah, talk about the brutality of that scene with the tourney going on, like you said, going back and forth. I think that was edited very well. I touched upon it in the regular review just as a way to set the setting and kind of the struggles for a character like Rhaenyra going forward, just showing how the society kind of treats women and doesn't views them as secondary citizens. Like that's your one thing, that's your job. So even though I love you, I'm willing to put you through this immense pain and not even like have the decency to have your input on it. So I think that highlights just the struggle characters like Rhaenyra are going to have going forward. And obviously Emma, when she's having that conversation with Rhaenyra earlier in the episode, talking about how being a mother or childbirth is like our battlefield.
Yeah, and I think even if what happened to Emma didn't happen, that scene would have been still so great for their relationship. I mean, it obviously emotionally what Rhaenyra has to go through by giving the farewell to her mother and losing her that way after thinking, I'm going to have a new brother, this is a day of celebration, to a day of terrible tragedy. But even without having that, I think that scene between them, it establishes so much about how they're viewed in this society versus what they actually want to be. So Rhaenyra saying that I'd rather ride into battle than ever give birth. But yeah, I mean, for Emma's life to end that way, it's one of those things that you don't want to wrap your mind around, because she doesn't know what's happening. And the way they drag her, the way they're holding her down, it is truly horrific. But it does, in a way, it foreshadows the impending battles that this house is going to have to face. I mean, you see it in the prologue, that the only way the House of the Dragon could be destroyed is from within. And to your point about the way society views women, make your eldest daughter the heir, right? And you wouldn't have to put your wife through this. But that's something that they can't contemplate until tragedy happens, because they know that not all the lords are going to be behind that, and that it's a massive change. No woman has ever ruled the 7 kingdoms or any of the individual kingdoms in the past. But if that was something that they had decided on, or if they were a bit more confident in Damon, he wouldn't have to put his wife through all these trials and tribulations of having a fucking son.
Well, it is interesting, because even the Targaryens, you would think they would be more willing, or more, like, even that Rhaenys was in considering, I think, even though it's not obviously an equal footing, but a little bit more progressive than maybe some of the older houses, especially in Westeros, because when you have Visenya and Rhaenys, who were Aegon's sister wives, riding dragons, being a part of battle, like, it's not out of the realm of possibility for a Targaryen woman to be a warrior as well.
Right, and they have fucking dragons.
And Rhaenyra even, that's a little like...
Like when Baratheon hesitates to bend the knee, you know there are dragons out back.
Yeah. But
Rhaenyra, the trunk and there's a dragon.
But Rhaenyra like says like, or Emma tells
I'll be right back.
Viserys that like she already named her sister, like Visenya, one of Aegon's sister wives, like someone who was regarded as someone who's capable, a dragon rider. And like you see, they have dragons. They are dragon riders. It's not like a benefit only provided to the Targaryen men. It's something that as a family they share. So
right.
I feel like when
right. You'd think that they'd be cool with it at this point.
I feel like when they were talking about Rhaenyra being like the heir, and they go around the table, it was almost just like The Sopranos. I was like, oh, like that was like a terrible idea.
You know what I got such a kick out of? I forget what his position was, but when Damon remarks that the men of the Vale would rather fuck sheep than the women, and the sheep are better looking.
Yeah.
And that guy, one of the guys goes, good heavens.
Yeah.
He's so taken aback. Yeah. It's not what he just did with the City Watch. It's that remark.
Yeah.
Can you go back to like Visenya had
that was the breaking
Visenya
point
had
right there.
Dark Sister.
Yeah, right.
Like,
which
so like they are war like,
and her dragon is still around.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see that big mama.
Well, Damon has Dark Sister now. Blackfire looks sick when he's sitting on the throne.
Yeah. It reminded me of the promotional shots of Ned on the throne, but I do love when kings sit on that throne holding the sword. It's just great. I'd love to be a king one day.
You know how bad that's going to hurt getting stabbed by that thing?
Well, I think that takes away the theory, right? Wasn't there a theory that Blackfire is Longclaw?
No, it's Dark Sister.
Oh, it's Dark Sister?
Yeah, because I think Dark Sister eventually ends up in the hands of Three-Eyed Raven, Brendan Rivers.
So once we see Dark Sister, maybe we can... If it has a dragon pommel, then maybe if it was a dragon, then a bear, then a wolf. Dragon bear wolf.
Dragon bear wolf?
Put a pin in that.
Yeah.
HBO Max is looking for more ideas.
I feel like
actually, no, they're not.
Yeah. It's like they canceled all their established originals for
Dragon Bear Wolf.
Yeah. Wolf.
Dragon Bear Wolf.
I said Dragon Bear Pig.
I love that. There's a house in Westeros. Their sigil's a pig.
Yeah.
We do not oink.
We saw the flayed man. I was looking for sigils.
Okay, I didn't really pick up on them, but that's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, the flayed man. Fucking bastards.
Like, there could be a nice Bolton, but I wouldn't trust it.
Right, the nice Slytherin.
I feel like we haven't even talked about Rhaenyra and Alicent. What's her name?
Yeah,
Alicent.
Alicent Hightower.
Alicent. I feel like they're 1-2 punch. They might be the 1-2 punch in this show. Their chemistry together already is phenomenal.
Yeah, I like the dynamic, studying a little bit of,
Cheeky comebacks with each other.
Yeah, I
you
thought
know?
that scene
Yeah.
was very well written.
Yeah.
but even discuss like her disregard. Reminded me of Bran when he's being asked about the different houses and their words, and he's just
Right.
like, fuck off. But obviously they know, and then she knows what actually is going on, but just being a little playful with it and kind of a little rebellion, but still just having those lighter moments between the two, establishing their friendship, I thought was well done.
Yeah, and I think they did do a good job with the parallels. Obviously, you have Alicent at the end comforting King Viserys, and she opens up about the loss of her mom, and now Rhaenyra has just experienced that as well. So there's some parallels there. You know, they're both women with famous names, so there's expectations. And now Rhaenyra's got incredible expectations, being the heir, but now Otto Hightower is trying to play the game here a little bit. You know, go comfort the king. It looks like there's a job opening. So
Indeed.com. Where you're, like a suit when you go in, wear the mother's dress.
right. You made a good point on the first review that Alicent was very sincere in those moments.
Yeah, because you could tell, like, she obviously, even that small interaction with Emma, just, Emma's just saying, like, hi to Alicent, and it's just like she's the friend that's always around, like, they obviously know each other. They're probably, might view her as, like, a second daughter or something along that nature. So, yeah, even though...
Kind of like me on Christmas with you.
Yeah.
And they even highlighted some differences there. Rhaenyra's having the time of her life on the back of the dragon, and she says to Alicent, there's room up there for two. And Alicent says, no way. I'm good on the ground. That's good enough for me.
Even though Otto's playing his own game, Alicent can relate to what Viserys is going through in that moment, bringing a book and kind of just being someone there to talk about things and saying that I wish people weren't, like, speaking in riddles when they were trying to come, like, talk to me after my mom's passing. So
She reminded me...
simple sorry.
Yeah, right. Just, what the fuck?
Yeah.
She reminded me a bit of early season Sansa, where there's an innocence there to her, but there's definitely more that meets the eye. Because even in those moments, you're face to face with the fucking king, the most powerful man in the world, and you're able to get through to him when he's in this state of mourning, when he's in this state of grief, only focused on his projects in front of him. And it really struck a chord with him. So
also to talk about parallels, it looked like they had a little crush on that night. That it looked like both of them were, like, eyeing him down a little bit.
Kristen Cole, right.
Yeah, they're like, yo.
I
He's
also
like, felt cute.
looking
Might
at
kill you
Damon
later.
a little. I like that scene. We talked about it a little bit, like, kind of that, even though Damon obviously just continues to try to poke the bear when it comes to Otto, challenging his son to a duel and then asking his daughter for the favor. And even Alicent kind of giving that little look to him, I thought was like just a cool way to show the dynamic where Alicent is, being a little like a teenager and everything, being a little rebellious when Damon's just doing it to be an absolute prick and for the divide between them. So
yeah, and he was the type to take his ball and go home with that fight. He lost the jousting match or whatever the hell it's called, then tries to fight him and then loses and then doesn't take his hand, when he's saying, yield or halt or whatever he says, and he just gets up and I'm taking my ball and going home.
Dude, that shot of Damon on the ground was so funny. He looks so stupid and goofy on the ground in that helmet, just looking up at him. And he knows, Kristen Cole was smart enough to know I'm not going to kill the fucking prince because I'm going to end up getting killed. So it's like, just yield.
Yeah, chill out, pal.
Yeah, but the way he was hyping up the crowd, that had to have been a Gladiator reference, right?
I would think
just
so.
Pointing at people, and it felt very, are you not entertained?
Yeah.
But the way that was cut together, fantastic editing there. Because like I said, the juxtaposition of what's going on inside and what's going on outside, it always hits because it's the things that you don't see. And they really captured it with the whole tourney. But the action was so, Miguel Sapochnik, even though I've been calling him Sapochnik, I love how I do the Long Island accent, too, because it's S-A-P-O, but I turn that O into an A. Sapochnik.
Just be yourself, bro.
obviously he's got the credits to his name. He knows how to direct an action scene, and the action chops really came out during that tourney, man. It was some of those exchanges and the jousts were super brutal. Everyone's been memeing the bit where Damon gets knocked off a bit and he starts grinding on the railing like a Tony Hawk video game.
Yeah.
I think Tony Hawk even commented on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did. But he did, I mean, not only with the action moments, but the dramatic moments as well. But he sure knows how to direct people fighting.
And when Damon did pick his first opponent, I felt like you could see the guy's face shook through the mask. It's like almost like, wow, I feel like the nervousness coming off this guy, and you can't see an ounce of emotion from his face because the shield or the helmet's blocking it, and you still felt it.
Well, even the way he beats him, just taking out the horse.
Yeah, it was kind of a cheap shot a little bit, don't you think?
Yeah. I guess it wasn't against the rules because they let him go, but
yeah, they applauded him, actually.
I think it's frowned upon. I think you have to at that point. Whereas, like, you made the Gladiator reference, like, Maximus was definitely being, that was kind of his protest of him being a gladiator. He was loving it.
Right.
Until he wasn't.
Yeah. Isn't it just fucked up that, humans would watch that?
A lot more brutal. Like, at least say what you will about Robert Baratheon. Under his reign, tourneys were safe. I mean, obviously, again, R.I.P. Sir Hugh, but like that just came from the sport. Once any extra curricular activities happen, or once someone's down, you're pretty much down.
Sir Hugh did have it coming because he was a little rude to Ned.
Yeah, and he bit off too much. More than he can chew.
I still love that line from Ned that the knights in King's Landing strut around like roosters. Yeah, and he's
talking to Barristan, or I think it's Barristan. He's like, "Well, you see, he's a knight." He's like,
Yeah, of course. What the hell was it?
I know Jory.
Yeah,
when he goes to talk to Ned, it's like, "Well, you see, he's a knight." He's like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, that's what he says. He says they strut around like roosters down here.
Something I wanted to talk about too that's very funny for somebody that's watched for the first time, and it almost seems like they're anticipating that a little bit, but at the same time, like showing, people that get this world and get what's going on. In the opening credits where they have like 172 years later, blah, 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 all the way down to Daenerys. And then just everything gets removed and it's just like 172 years later, Daenerys.
Yeah.
They kind of just like dumb it down for you a little bit, which I wanted to touch up on. It's like, I'm reading all that. I'm like, I don't get any of that. And it's just like 172 years later, this happened. It's like, oh,
it's also
okay.
clear to me now. Yeah.
Was that Emma Darcy in the opening voiceover?
Possibly. Yes, it was, because she says, my father.
Mm-hmm.
She says the crown was given to my father. So it's interesting. But yeah, I mentioned on the first review that was done effectively. Because people have lives, they have jobs, they don't have time. Not everyone is losers like us and they sit around reading the Wikipedia or have read the books.
Whoa, losers. Whoa, easy.
So it's easy to forget how long they were in charge and how many kings there were and stuff like that. But once it just fades to 172 years before Daenerys, you're like, okay.
Oh, okay.
This is eventually going to lead to Daenerys and Jon. It is so funny, though, to just see them at the height of their power and knowing that Jon and Daenerys are related to these sick fucks.
I think they're in a direct line.
Yeah, they're a direct line.
Wow. And they said, 10 dragons?
10 adult-sized dragons. So that leaves room for some teenage Groots, baby Groots, stuff like that.
Baby Spyros?
Yeah. In development.
Wow.
A+ potential, though. All those dragons come with A+ potential.
Now,
what did you think about the CGI? They looked great, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when Damon has his side piece coming over to touch the dragon.
Yeah.
That's a very cool scene,
Right.
Something there's actually two questions I wanted to ask. One, what does a dragon smell like? Like, what do you think that smells like?
You know when you go to like the reptile section at the zoo?
Okay.
I imagine just the zoo.
Just the zoo?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I got maybe charcoal.
That could be it.
Yeah.
I, for some reason, thought it was like burnt hair. I don't know why. I'm getting that smell.
I could see that too.
That's just like a chicken coop.
Right.
They say chickens are related to dinosaurs, right?
Yeah. They said that they had feathers, actually, a lot of the dinosaurs.
Like dinosaurs are basically dragons.
Why don't these dragons have feathers? That'd be fresh.
Yeah, it would be fresh.
Well, technically, they're not dragons.
I know. Well, let's not get into that. Come on.
And second question is there like a creme de la creme when it comes to the dragons? Like, who's the best dragon?
We saw that big boy, that big ass skull when they were talking.
Yeah.
That was the big boy.
That was the big boy? What was the big boy's name?
Balerion.
Balerion? What happened to Balerion?
Got old. He was I think he was close to 200 by the time he died.
Damn. Good life.
I'm pretty sure Viserys used to ride. He was the last Balerion dragon rider, right?
Possibly.
So he would fuck shit up. That's what he did.
Oh yeah, he was like
Well, Aegon the Conqueror, that was his dragon.
the first castle we see is like basically he melted that. And maybe this throne, but if you see pictures of the old iron, like the book Iron Throne, it said that it was forged with dragon fire, the swords of all the enemies, which is fucking cool. So,
Well,
Yeah.
very dumb questions, I know, but
But from the original, like Aaron mentioned, Aegon had two sisters who both had dragons. One of the sisters died in battle. So did her dragon. Killed by a Dornish spear. So Oberyn, his ancestors.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
But one of the dragons, one of the three, is still alive and will be in this season. Who's when Rhaenyra names the unborn daughter Visenya, that was Visenya's dragon, Vhagar. So Vhagar is at this point similar in age to Balerion, so she's pretty monstrous.
So that's the one that she's right. She flew in and the one that,
No, we haven't seen Vhagar yet.
well, they
okay.
say
Hiding her.
dragons like will keep growing as they age. So like, or like if you keep them in a contained area, they will only grow into that area. Like, so,
kind of like an iguana.
I'm not a lizard
Yeah,
guy.
an iguana grows to its adaptations.
Yeah.
Its
I think we
environment.
nailed the smell.
An iguana.
An iguana.
You think if you cut off a dragon tail, it will grow back?
Grow back.
Or is that that's geckos? Geckos?
I
Or iguanas?
think
I'm a
iguanas'
progressive guy.
tails do that, but not a leg. I think if you cut their tail, they grow back.
That's what I said, tail.
Yes, tail. Yeah, but not like, because I think like there is a certain salamander. Maybe if you cut its leg off, it'll grow its limbs back. One of these fucking lizards. I don't know. but yeah. Yeah, no, very dumb, simple, what is it, Hot D? 101 question there, because I don't know anything about anything here, but I wanted to know about the dragons, because what's the dragon story that that burns the mom and the son? What's his deal or her deal, or anything special about that dragon, or Rhaenyra's dragon, the one that burns at the funeral,
Oh, right. Yeah, no, that's her dragon.
just chilling?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's multiple dragon riders, like Corlys with the dreadlocks. I'm pretty sure his kids have dragons.
He's great too, by the way.
He's just a nice presence,
Yeah.
right? I made the point, I was talking to one of my friends about the episode, that Rhaenys and Corlys at the tournament, they give off these cool parent vibes. They're just kicking back,
Yeah.
judging people. Their facial reactions are great, raising some eyebrows, commenting on the violence and how all these men are green and haven't seen real battle. But yeah, they were good. Obviously, they don't get too much into what their deal is, and they hint that Corlys is going to be adventuring down the line, setting up that threat in the east. But yeah, I think he was, like I said, just a presence, both of them.
Yeah, and you probably wouldn't even pick up on it, but just even fans of the show who really don't know too much about like lore or anything, just the connection between the Valyrians and the Targaryens, both
Right.
having that hair and the same ancestry. So I kind of, I thought he looked like someone who could earn a nickname like Lord of Tides. Like you said, someone who is comfortable, but when it's time to go, he's ready to go.
Yeah, even the subtle putting the hand over the glass.
Mm-hmm.
This is business time. I'm not here to get drunk and wasted. We have some things to deal with. So he knows how to get down to business. And Rhaenys, I don't even think we hear her. Well, she has the one line, or she has a couple of lines at the tournament. But I'm excited for fans to be introduced to their whole family, because we saw the kids. But there's a lot of interesting stuff, and I do wonder. Some people were confused. Why does he have the silver hair, but his name isn't Targaryen? But he seems to be married to a Targaryen wife. Did he inherit the hair? So it's going to be fun for people to read into that sort of history, the relationship between the two houses, both going back to Old Valyria.
Well,
and I also like the idea that Old Valyria has been retconned into this multi-ethnic empire.
Yeah.
That there were multiple ethnicities within the empire who had status, who had, their different types of powers. Obviously, they're seafarers. They don't have dragons. But when you marry into the family, it's possible that your kids can inherit some dragons. So, when you have, it's not only House Targaryen with this power. So
Yeah. Well, even Emma looked a little Targaryen for an Aaron.
I think she was I think they're cousins.
Okay.
Viserys and Emma.
Yeah, I think
And then she was married off
to an Arryn, like.
Or no, she was born from an Arryn,
Yes.
but her mother was a Targaryen.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
You definitely see. I think a lot of people saw that scene with Damon and Rhaenyra, and they were kind of like, "Well, what's going on here?" A little with the whole, the Targaryens being dragons
Uncle and
1,
niece.
2 incest. That's their. That's,
I mean, it's
what
written
they're
all
known
over their
for.
hair, right? There's some incest going on here.
Yeah.
They're keeping that fucking silver hair strong.
But there is
Hair like that. I'm going incest too. It's beautiful. That hair.
You married your cousin, huh?
Yeah. Well, you see this hair flowing in the wind? I mean, come on. And my cousin, she's not that bad, I guess.
My cousin's all right.
But there definitely is
She's cute.
it is Targaryens usually keep things very in-house, but with some relations to the Baratheons and later on with Martells and things of that nature. So they are maybe spreading a little bit, but they still at the core they want to keep that blood pure, which is why half of them are crazy.
Maybe.
What did you guys think about the music? That was a big thing that people were anticipating. I think the song at the end was one of his best pieces so far, and I think it's called The Prince That Was Promised. The way that music was brought in, good, and once again another example of splicing in between different moments of time when he's first telling her, I'm going to make you heir, and then we're seeing her pre-coronation or them pledging fealty to support her when she does come into her crown. But the music was just perfect for that moment.
Yeah, they played with some original Game of Thrones songs. The original theme they played with a little bit.
Yeah, they did.
But kind of making it its own. And I think that was, a big thing that was missing from this episode was no opening theme. I still think they might just do a small deviation to the original. It's just such an icon. Like, Star Wars doesn't change their theme.
I think they did come out and say it's going to be different.
Yeah, but
It kind of had it at the end.
You got a Viserys vibe to you. Just going to manifest it. Yeah, but
it's such an iconic theme, and even when they have hints of it mixed into the score of this episode, like, gets you going.
yeah, it does.
The very last scene when she's just staring into the camera, and they have like it's like a little sprinkle of the original, but like that gets the adrenaline going a little bit, And I'm not even a Thrones fan. I can only imagine how
All you
everybody
need is
else
just like
felt.
a little dun-dun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he'll find a way to incorporate it. It is his music, so that's
It is like, it's, to me, it's the song of Ice and Fire. So you can use it for anything.
And the White Walkers, man. Just, they never go away.
They're not gonna show up. But,
I know, but that would be sick.
well, I love that. He's like, all the 7 kingdoms need to be united in fighting against the White Walkers.
with the Targaryen
And
on the
then you
throne.
fast forward and Cersei's just chilling in King's Landing. Your Grace, the wall has been breached. Good.
Yeah, no Targaryen on the throne.
No Targaryen on the throne.
It's a Lannister, and the country split.
Well, you have to spin it. A lot of people have been spinning it. Well, Daenerys was a Khaleesi.
John, King of the North.
John, King of the North. There you go. 2 kings for the price of 1. Yeah, I don't know if it was necessary, but it's something that's not really going to bother me. And even some of the continuity stuff, if they want to change things around from the Fire and Blood text, that's fine with me. Like I said, they've aged up some characters, so I'm not going to twist my brain into a pretzel to make it all match up. I'm going to ride with what it is. So that moment to me,
And George has even said, like, it's not, like, it's, he very much wrote it as secondhand accounts in mind. So it's like, you can play around with these ideas.
Right. I think that's cool that we can get some book canon stuff, if it's going to be more in line with what George has outlined in the books and that universe, because at this point they're so different, show and books. So you could see it as show canon and book canon a bit, especially with George being so heavily involved. But I thought the music throughout was great, and I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with the opener next week. What style, what type of animation they might use. So that first opening is so iconic. I think they beat Game of Thrones when it comes to pilot episodes.
Yes.
Maybe they can come out with imagine the theme was better.
Well, it's Dijuani versus Dijuani, so it's like...
It's Obama giving himself the medal.
Yeah. But, yeah. Jaharis has got to be rolling over in his grave, though.
Why do you say that?
I mean, like, his whole reasoning for calling a council to Harrenhal and doing it that way was to prevent a war, because the only way the house could, fall is... whatever the quote was, basically saying that the biggest threat to the House Targaryen is House Targaryen.
Right, yeah. No
And
empire destroys
literally
itself.
the next heir, just like, I'm not going to do what he did.
Well, Corlys had a great line, too, when he was like, we're not going to say his name. Daemon Targaryen is the heir? Is it going to split the kingdoms, or is it going to split this council? So it goes back to, I think it was in season 3, about the rulers, they play their Game of Thrones while the small folk suffer. So regular Joe Schmo out in the Riverlands, like, oh, you heard Daemon's the heir? That's ridiculous. Daemon can't be an heir. He's crazy. It's like, who the hell is Damon? I can't read. I'm going blind in my left eye. I've got 17 children.
That's always like when it's like, how do you when I think about like colonial history, like just how did you campaign for elections? Like obviously through like the newspaper, but like you just read something, it's like, yeah, that's my guy.
Well, it's also interesting, people have pointed out that Dorne is officially not a part of the kingdoms, but the Dornish sigil is on his crown. I love that about the Targaryens. Even though that Dorne has not submitted to their rule, they're still like, well, we do kind of rule you. We couldn't blow your shit
They're
up.
scrappy, man.
No, they are scrappy.
They held them back for years. And, obviously they didn't really get into Dornish history, but like give you an idea of like some more backstory on the Dornish, just with Nymeria and her ships coming in and marrying into the Martell family. And yeah, they've been a problem for a while. They're hard to conquer.
Nice little promo for that show they're planning, right? I think it's the production name is 10,000 Ships.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to be about her coming over to Westeros. Yeah, and it's cool because when she asks the commander of the Kingsguard, who is that? What do you know about him? He's sort of mysterious. So when Oberyn showed up in season 4, he had that same vibe. Who is this guy? Where does he come from? Why does he have an accent? Why is he so sexy? Why is he killing people indiscriminately?
Poor Martells, man. They make a peace, marry into the Targaryen family. Finally, Dorne's in the realm, everything's going good, murder.
Isn't that usually how it goes in life?
Not my life. But yeah, Kristen Cole, I mean, he was in some of the promotional, so he's going to be a recurring character, a bigger character. So just, seeing some of that skill, some of that charisma, that's one thing about the Dornish. When they show up on screen, they can kind of steal scenes. Sometimes in a negative way with the whole Sand Snake thing, but at the very least, like, they still were these confident and dangerous people, so that you don't want to fuck with and are very skilled, and apparently have reputations of just being awesome.
Right. I mean, Daemon's rep is that he's not unrivaled, but he's a great warrior, and then he gets unseated by Kristen Cole, so it establishes him as somebody to be taken seriously when it comes to sword fighting, stuff like that.
Well, Mace, that's an interesting choice. I always like the unconventional weapon choices. Robert with his battle axe. Now you have Kristen with his mace.
Yeah, and they did a good job teasing some of these side characters, supporting characters that are eventually going to have bigger roles, like you mentioned Daemon's side piece, Massaria. You don't get too much out of her character, but obviously she's not Daemon's wife. It's similar to Tyrion and Shay, where Daemon values her advice. He appreciates her presence in his life and stuff like that. It's a closeness that maybe they're not married, but it's something beyond that. And we see that all the time with these rulers. They keep their side pieces, who are the ones with actual power.
Yeah, I would appreciate her too if she was just like, I can get some more girls for you if you like. I mean, how do you not appreciate someone like that?
Is that the problem, honey?
Oh my God, am I not good enough?
Yeah,
you want to get 3 more
she
with
is.
me?
Yeah, no, that is
very supportive.
Very good point.
From emotional to, her saying like, what's wrong with you? You're about to be the heir, like pumping him up a little bit, a little motivation. And it's a great point. It seems like that she's going to be sticking around. She might be the side piece, but
she got to ride on the back of the dragon, so that's fun when they took off there at the end.
Yeah. And I think even in the original series, they did a good job of maybe not spending too much time on certain characters that later on ended up being or playing bigger roles. So and I think we saw a lot of that. Obviously, the ones they paid more attention to are the most prevalent in this pilot episode, but definitely some of the characters who, maybe only had a line or two. Once the season really starts to play out, you might find they have bigger roles. So
I got to put you guys on the spot here. Best pilot you've ever seen?
Ooh, that's so tough.
Yeah.
What about top 3? Top 5?
I think pilots, sometimes you see an excellent pilot, but it never really fully lives up to that. But pilots are important.
The Newsroom was one of the best pilots ever. Mm-hmm. That speech became so iconic, and I don't think it ever lived up to that pilot after that first episode. I love the Breaking Bad pilot. I think it's a great opening scene. The Sopranos has a great first episode.
Succession had a good pilot. I think Dexter had a
Succession's
really good pilot.
Yeah, Dexter's pilot's one of my favorites.
Twin Peaks. Yeah, it's considered
weird.
one of the best ever.
Trying to think about another pilot.
Malcolm in the Middle.
Little Bill.
I love when I see a
Okay,
terrible.
let's look for fan questions.
I hate when. Well, it's always fun to see a bad pilot, but it ended up being a good show.
Mhm.
Well, Game of Thrones pilot had to get reshot,
Right, yeah, the original.
recast.
Did you know about that, Nash? The first episode of Game of Thrones was apparently so horrible that they reshot it entirely.
No.
And there was another actress playing Daenerys.
Different actress playing Kat.
Wow. You know how mad they must be right now?
Scheduling. They were like, oh, we can't come back for it, you know? And then you give up the role of Daenerys Targaryen.
Yeah, you give up the role of a lifetime.
That's crazy. It's
They-
hard to
arguably the
imagine
most-
anyone in that role.
I know, yeah, at this point. Well, we asked for some fan questions about the first episode, so why don't we take a few and then we'll wrap this up.
That's for the fan to decide.
People you call up to the show, you better be ready. That's what you're supposed to do. Sitting there arguing and you're trying to spell your name and all of this other stuff. It's not your show, it's my show. I'm giving you the opportunity to speak your mind. Don't call up here unless you got something to say.
This first question here from Ariana. Which character is likely to be your favorite? I think for me, if we're just going based on the first
pilot, 'cause I
episode.
already have my answer.
Yeah, right.
But like based on this pilot alone,
I would go Damon.
yeah, I think
Because he's just
Him or
so
Rhaenyra?
interesting. Yeah.
It's got to be one of them two. I mean, they were both best in the episode.
Damon's definitely not going to be the most. He's going to
Well,
play.
he's got some fun
yeah.
things coming up. That's why I'm so excited for some fans to see what these characters are going to be doing in the meantime.
Yeah,
And I think there's some fun things that we have in store.
I think one character is easily going to be my favorite later on, but right now, just from that one episode, I think Rhaenyra and Damon were the standouts. I mean, Viserys is going to be a great character too, but I think it's something where his makeup that they presented in this first episode, I feel like Damon or Rhaenyra are definitely going to be able to have more fun watching or be more invested into what's going on in their lives.
Another question here from Ariana.
2 for the price of 1. Is that the
Which-
first time in Nerd Soup history that's happened?
No,
No?
not at all. I actually get accused of taking too many questions from the same people all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never been on an
I've
episode
got
when
my
that's
question
happened.
favorites. So she asks, which had the better pilot, Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon?
I think this did.
Yeah, I think House of the Dragon ends up being a better pilot. On rewatch, I was like, yo, this is just a great episode of television.
Right.
This is so fucking well done for an introduction. They knocked it out of the fucking park, man. You couldn't have asked for a better opening episode.
Yeah, it's from somebody that, like I said, I was going into this episode hating it, and I came out of it now going to be watching every Sunday.
Well, I think it was very carefully.
That's how
like,
good it was.
I'm not saying they took into consideration the opinion of season 8 and that, but like opening up right away, connecting it to, establishing its setting, but right away, someone on a dragon back.
Yeah.
Something we've
Right.
waited so long
Yeah.
for in that original series. This is minute 1.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just casual. People are looking up and seeing it fly over their heads and like, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
That's
there
the
goes one
dragon.
of the dragons.
So it's just like right away that just establishes like this is normal in this world, and I think that's a big moment to get out of the way. And then halfway through, you're into this really intense scenes of violence on the tourney and during birth, and that kind of all culminating, and the drama right away, the political drama, the court. The council's meetings, very reminiscent of what made people so in love with Game of Thrones. And, as much as people point to the dragons, the violence, the deaths, those were the scenes that really separated it from most things on TV at the time. So establishing that and then having the political type of chess moves and playing and setting up who's in line for succession and what's that's going to mean going forward. It's just really, really started off with a bang.
I also wanted to touch up on something too, which, we were talking about in the group chat with how bad season 8 left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. And it's almost like the comparison that I leave in South Park with the girls that go into backstage with the Jonas Brothers, and they're like, "Oh my God, they're bringing us back here to give them blowjobs," and they're like, "We're not giving them blowjobs," and then the Jonas Brothers show up and all their mouths open. So it's like kind of like the bad taste in season 8. People like, "I'm not watching this show. Fuck that. It was so bad. Why am I gonna give it them?" As soon as this happened, boom, their mouths just opened up, and they loved it. So that's how I saw it, and
I was waiting so long to see how that connected at all.
and it was perfect. It was very good.
I'm like, where the hell are you going?
No, it's just because
Mouth agape.
it's just
Come on, Dragon Daddies.
the thing that also with Dexter. Dexter's last 2 seasons were terribly written and so bad to the point where when the new show came out, New Blood, I didn't watch. I was like, I'm not watching. It was so bad. I'm not giving them the time of day. I guess it might be different because it was prequel and then, this was post Dexter, so it might have been a little different. But again, it leaves bad taste in people's mouths when shows are terrible like that. And then, they pumped out great television, so that changes everything.
It's also only been 3 years, so I think a lot of people overestimated the whole we're not going to come back because we were disappointed. People still have Game of Thrones on the mind, whether they liked it or didn't like it. If they didn't like it, they've been talking about how much they hated it for the last 3 years.
I feel like it's a debate that's still being talked about to this day.
Yeah, and I have noticed some people on my timeline being a bit hesitant, holding out. They're never going to get over it, but hey, it's your life.
Twitter is, as much as Game of Thrones Twitter is fun, I'm just reminded of
all the gatekeepers, the snobs.
Not even that.
The filth.
That too.
I think there's been some of that, but mostly I've seen just everyone use the same meme and people who clearly read the source material making predictions that are going to come true.
Well, I've seen some bad predictions, so that was fun.
Yeah, I've seen some. It's like, I don't know what it is about this character, but I feel like she's going to do this, and that. You've read the book.
Some people could pick up on things.
Come on. It's like watching the pilot of Game of Thrones and being like, ooh, I could see Robb Stark becoming king of the North and then beheaded.
Well, that's very
or murdered at a wedding.
Yeah. No, I
could see Ned getting on the wrong side of Cersei Lannister and that causing his demise in episode 9. That's just a guess, though.
Right.
Educated guess.
This question here from Leslie McWaters.
What's up?
What do you guys think about the discourse surrounding the childbirthing scene? It was definitely hard to watch, but it seems like people forget what they are watching. Yeah, I saw some people say, I love the episode, I love the show. That scene was unnecessary. That's something that I don't need to see. And I have things like that too. I think violence against animals, it's something that I never want to see in my movie or show, even if it does add to the story. I just don't like it. It's not something that I want to sit through. The second watch, I had to just fast forward through this childbirthing scene. And I totally get that, man. It's something that could be genuinely triggering for people to see and watch that. And they could say, hey, this is something where you could have hinted at what's going on and then move the camera away. You don't have to focus in on it, but they chose not to. I think it worked as not only just a scene, but as a moment of foreshadowing what's to come. So I totally get the different sides of the argument, though. I'm not going to plant my flag and be like, well, they're showing real life. It's violence. This world is terrible, blah, blah, blah.
I think there are certain ways you can get your point across, right? And I think, that was their intention. I think there was a clear intention there at the very least. And different from, let's say, maybe D&D when Talissa Stark, when they stab her pregnant belly. I don't think, obviously it's brutal and they're showing the brutality of the scene, and you could argue like it is effective in that way. But in terms of like necessity, you can argue that this was more of a way to kind of show and be like a metaphor for how the women in this society, even this close to the royal family, can be disregarded. That was just like, let's make this fucking sick and brutal.
Yeah, right. There's definitely more of an argument for taking out that moment than I think maybe this moment. Mm-hmm. But I totally get it. And people sometimes, somebody comes out and says like, I love the episode, but I could have done without that scene. And then everybody gets up in arms. Sometimes you just got to be like, yo,
I didn't
like if you were fine with it, you got it. Yeah. The show came out. That was included in the show. So, let people say their opinions, and you don't have to get all, because people get so up in arms. Well, you don't stop watching then.
Even like before the cutting and all that, like just the sheets being all bloody. And then once they start cutting her open and then the blood is dripping and everything, it's just like, It was so hard to watch.
Yes.
And that element of having that, when somebody is such a horrible person acting, they're very good at acting, but you just hate them so much.
Right.
It's kind of like, I hate watching this person so much that I love it. And this is just what the show is. They literally came out before this show and said, hey, we're going to try and dial it down with the gore and the nudity.
But I think that's the thing you could point to and be like, well, that was a lie.
Well, yeah, especially from this episode alone. This is just what it is, and it's...
Obviously wasn't expecting it to be, TV 14, but...
I think they just wanted to get rid of the wieners. I think that was just it, because everything else was there but the wieners.
No, the one literally got chopped off.
Oh, well, yeah. Oh, true.
Well, that's basically the point. They got rid of the wieners.
Hey, but...
I also love how, like, Milk of the Poppy is, like, heroin, and that's their solution to everything. It's like, here, have some heroin.
Yeah.
Well, our hometown is kind of like that.
That is the solution to everything, yeah. Well, wait, what is it? What is the drug that we give?
Morphine.
Morphine, yeah, I guess
Yeah.
it's Milk of the Poppy.
Yeah.
Somebody asked, a question here from Joe, would Bobby B have tolerated Kristen Cole and Damon going at it like that? And they used the gif when he stands up and he's got the fire eyes. And he starts breathing fire.
Not even Damon and Kristen. It was the other ones where they're just literally murdering people. Like, this isn't a trial by combat here.
Yeah, I like how Robert's kingdom is a bit more progressive. We're not Neanderthals.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to just fucking kill each other for sport. But if you die within the sport, that's fine.
Yeah.
Sure.
That guy's head was bashed in.
All right. How many times am I going to...
R.I.P. King Robert.
No,
Sir Hugh.
Sir Hugh of the Vale.
Poor Sir. That's another one. Tyrion, Cersei, Daenerys, Hugh.
He's in that class?
No, it's just all these exotic names, and it's just Hugh.
Hugh.
That's Hugh. He's friends with Kevin.
That was just at the end of the night. He was just done.
They were just like,
oh, fuck this.
Michael.
Well, at least he tried, like, John, no H, Rob, 2 B's.
Yeah. Well, I always like the way
Too much
he...
effort.
It's like Ned, but, like, we'll call him Eddard, and, like...
Right. Well, this question here from Alex Bosniak. Who would you rather follow into battle, Ned Stark or Robert Baratheon? You don't have to pick, right? You can follow them both.
But hypothetically, if it was opposing... I mean, Robert's getting the troops pumped up.
I know. At the end of the day, I think
no one
I
wants
just
to hear
gravitate.
about honor before war, Ned.
I'm sure Ned, if he had the chance, has given some good war speeches, but I imagine King Robert gave some legendary ones. Just building off of the hype, King Alexander type shit. If Tyrion could give a great war speech, then...
But the presence, having those that antler helmet and that huge war hammer.
Right, yeah. Like you're following God himself. Can't be killed.
I'll let you know in like 6 months about that answer.
Well, one of the best scenes from Game of Thrones is when Jaime, Barristan, and King Robert are trading war stories. That is one of my favorite scenes of Season 1, and I think Mark Addy gets so underrated as his performance as King Robert, so yeah, I follow King Robert. But I wouldn't hate following Ned.
Ned is someone who I'd want, like, once the Lannisters imprison him, I'm like, oh, I'm those banners are getting called. I'm coming for my boy. But, like, to get ready for a battle right now, we're heading to the Trident, and Rhaegar's on the other side, I'm following Robert.
This question here from Tony at Lopsided Grub.
T.
In this episode, we saw Viserys doing some modeling of a city in his chambers. Do you think this could be a slight nod to the Game of Thrones intro? I hadn't thought of that, but I like that idea.
I mean, we've seen as, like, the Citadel, right? When Sam finally goes into the library, had kind of the same... I don't even know what to call those things. But they had some of the same designs as the intro, too, so...
Oh, Legos.
I kind of, yeah, I kind of like that, too. I like Viserys, I think, came off as very... It's complex, I think. Because obviously the big thing, the big takeaway is that scene with his wife. But, like you said, opening up with the joke and then seeing his... not taking anything too seriously, even defending his brother, but being stern when he has to. But, seeing that he has that hobby of building, it's just like, he just seems like somebody thrown in, like he literally was just thrown into being king because he was just named the heir one day.
Yeah, I wonder if he regrets it because his bum ass looked happy at the ceremony. He's all nervous, smiling, looking over at Rhaenys. Rhaenys looked fucking furious.
Yeah.
Well, she probably knew.
Pissed.
Yeah, she knew what was coming. When they were like 2 arguments were only seriously considered. It wasn't even her argument. It was for like some other. It was for Tyrell Mann, who had silver hair, coincidentally. This question here from Cormac Hogan. Have you noticed an abundance of spoilers being given out on Twitter in comparison to the original series?
I haven't seen much, except for the people faking their predictions.
Yeah, I haven't seen much, but that's unfortunate. And I wonder if you do go back in time, if you were looking for it, there were definitely some spoilers out there on social medias when the first show came out.
Well,
People can't fucking help themselves.
Peak popularity was Reigns of Castamere, I think, after that. Going into season 4, I think the hype was full steam ahead. So, like, the only thing you can really spoil...
Was John?
What?
You talking about the original series or this?
The original.
Yeah, after Reigns of Castamere.
Joffrey, Purple Wedding, maybe some Oberyn stuff, and Jon, really. But, I mean, those are big fucking spoilers, but you couldn't spoil who's going to win.
No. Yeah, that, obviously in hindsight, he probably should have finished it before the series wrapped up, but it worked to their benefit for at least keeping fans spoiler-free. People are dropping spoilers. I mean, God, man, I can't stand when people do that shit.
I mean, even going into this, I didn't like really reread too much or try to stay away from things that, maybe I have an idea of what's going on, but certain things are still going to surprise me.
All right, last question here from Spencer.
I just want to, sorry,
Go ahead.
Cut you off, Spencer. I was mid-burp, so I couldn't even talk. People get their kicks from doing that, and that bothers me so much. Who was the NFL player that absolutely, ruined...
It was Le'Veon Bell, wasn't it?
No,
He ruined Tony Stark?
It was somebody else.
Oh, Shady McCoy.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, people, actually enjoy
I think
that.
Shady,
he did it unintentional. I think he didn't realize...
But there are some people
with
who,
his platform.
make a point, I forget who it was, but it's like, oh, for all you nerds out here, blah, 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 blah.
Right. No, well, with McCoy, I think it was, he tweeted it as if everybody has seen the movie.
Right.
Like it was like you said, show comes on at 9, you don't have to worry about spoilers. Everybody's watching it. But when he was confronted and they were like, yo, people haven't seen the movie, he was like, I don't give a fuck about those nerds. It's like, okay, then you're a scumbag.
Yeah.
At least say sorry.
People enjoy doing that, though. Generally, they do, really, really enjoy pissing people off that way.
The amount of things that have been spoiled by people who listen to our podcast for us.
Remember when you
It's like they get out a kick of spoiling shit for me.
You spoiled Rise of Skywalker the day of.
I did.
For me.
Yeah, I did. Because I was so used to the comments at that point on the Rey Palpatine video that I just blurted out a spoiler in front of Aaron. And I was like, oh, shit, you're not me, so you haven't seen all these comments.
Oh.
Well, I kind of knew something was up.
Yeah, you knew.
The views are skyrocketing.
A lot of people knew.
But I just thought, maybe the hype for this movie is...
Yeah.
What else did you spoil something else for me recently?
That I don't remember. You know what it is? Because I've gotten so comfortable with having things spoiled that I've got loose lips, not intentionally. But I do speak. I do that a lot. I need to stop doing that.
Yeah, well, people deserve prison sentences when they legitimately get off from doing that.
Yes, they
it's
do.
terrible. They should be sent to the moon.
All right, final question here from Spencer.
Spencer,
this was probably already a topic, but what do you think about how they're tying in Game of Thrones with Hot D, with Aegon's dream?
Real quick though, I remember this vividly. I read a spoiler, but I'm like, that's ridiculous. That's obviously fake. And it happened. It was Superman dies in Batman vs. Superman. I'm like, Superman's not going to die. And it happens.
Sure enough.
Dumbass decision. Spencer says, I'm not a huge fan of this idea personally. I know George R.R. Martin has said it is canon, but it feels a little chosen one-y. Yeah, it's something where it's just a line, and I don't think it's going to come up much in the rest of the show. I think it was for Game of Thrones fans, we're sorry that ending sucked. Here's a cool little tie-in so you can change the way you view that original series. Please go back and watch it.
Get the numbers up.
Yeah, get those numbers up. But I don't mind it. Like Aaron said, it's something that I think you made a good point about it, that when kings change or when you usurp a throne, some certain secrets are lost. Yeah. So it would have been very helpful if... And I really do love this theory now of King Aerys having the secret in the back of his mind. He still goes crazy. Yeah. But with Jaime saying he was burn them all, burn them all, burn them all, that in his mind he's thinking burn my enemies, but my enemies are the White Walkers. So if maybe he conflated the two, the world's closing in on me. This is what Aegon was talking about. This is the long night.
Well, I mean, like I said before, Rhaegar was kind of obsessed with the prince that was promised in that prophecy. So
but
hand in
does
hand
suck?
with that prophecy is the long night.
It sucks because they went away from it in season 8. They would barely fucking mention it. And I understand the way George uses prophecies. You're not supposed to look too far into it, but it would have been, you have to give us something. It's like when season 6, when good guys started winning, it's like we've earned this. It's been 5 seasons of the good guys getting their fucking teeth kicked in. So just a line or two, like, oh, Jon Snow is the prince who was promised? Flaming sword. Just a little, like a line or two, but they abandoned it entirely. I don't even think those words are mentioned in season 8. The prince who was promised.
I do get upset if I see like fan art of like Jon with Longclaw on fire, staring down the Night King.
Missed opportunity, man. The word, talk about selling a fight. They're like, the Night King and Jon Snow have this great moment, better than Hardhome. And it was just the same thing that happened at Hardhome, but worse.
Well, yeah, obviously with George coming out saying it could have been 10, 11, 12 seasons.
Right.
But also, I love you, but who are you to talk at this point?
I do get it, but man,
No, sure.
At least 10. They should have gone to 10.
Of course.
Yeah.
You could have did a whole
this
season
isn't
about
Monday
that battle.
morning. This isn't Monday morning
Right.
quarterbacking either. I think we said leading up to it that. Especially,
I people have been saying it for years.
Yeah.
But imagine if we were in the midst of a season 10 of Game of Thrones with a $20 million budget per episode. Oh my God, that would have been fucking incredible, dude.
And then again, like we literally just said, they could have had a whole goddamn season about that fight,
and it would have made buckets.
Yeah,
buckets.
I do wonder
dump trucks of money, bro.
When George, if they ever, like, let's say 20 years from now it is finished, what the approach would be to try to tell this story again if they choose to. Would you just start at the beginning, or would you just be like,
this is a retcon?
This is the end. Or like, this is just George's adaptation.
We may see that with the Jon Snow sequel, right? Maybe that will be a way that they...
But like Daenerys isn't around.
No. Well, Drogon is.
The Night King's dead. Is he? ...
All right, guys, that does it for this spoiler discussion of House of the Dragon episode 1. We will be back next week with our episode 2 review and our episode 2 spoiler discussion. Make sure you follow us on all social medias, all that stuff.
Comment,
subscribe,
comment.
There is a cameo at the end of like post credits of the Night King. It's just like, not yet.
God, that would be so fucking stupid.
Wiping his mouth.
That's the
or
last
something.
scene of House of the Dragon.
What about the Night King baby? Maybe he becomes the Night King.
That baby, I wonder if that baby got evaporated when Arya pulled that move off.
He wasn't in the radius.
You think so? You think he was out of it?
Now he's training. He killed my father. His point of view, revenge story.
I thought they all die when he gets killed. They don't all die when he gets killed?
Well, that's another thing they never picked up on. There's a scene in season 4 where the Night King takes a human baby and turns him into a White Walker. And he's a little White Walker baby. But we never see anything about that ever again.
Oh, they are cooking something with that.
I think in the books, definitely. But in the show, it's like one of those things, we're just going to abandon it. There's so much foreshadowing that they just threw out the window when it came to that final season. It's very upsetting.
I guess that was just to show what Craster is doing, why he's doing it, and why they're taking Craster's babies. But yeah, that's just something that we shouldn't talk about anymore.
All right, well, we'll stop it there, and we'll see you next week, guys. Like, share, subscribe, put on notifications.
We might do something on maybe Instagram or something. Maybe your account, like a Game of Thrones House of Dragon pregame or something. So, yeah, find us over there. What?
Huh?
Wine? I don't know, I think that'd be fun.
No, when Aaron was talking about doing a preview on Instagram, he was like, yeah, maybe Nash can have a glass of wine or two. I was like, wow, you're letting Nash drink?
No,
excuse me, boss.
Fucking daddy monkey over here.
Yeah.
I don't know. We can go like maybe an hour or two before the episode, take some questions, build it up a little. Who knows?
Yeah, make sure to comment on these videos, guys. I'm reading, so.
Yeah, comment and follow us on Instagram and follow us on Twitter.
Twitter, hell yeah. And hey,
slide
the DMs, tweet at me. I'm always going to answer.
100,000 Twitter followers or 100,000 Instagram followers?
Twitter, so nobody has to look at me.
Damn, we were making some good points in that video. Hey guys, Aaron the Nerd Suit Monkey here. Before we end this video, I want to give a quick shout out to our Patreon supporters. What can I say about you guys that I haven't already said about myself? You are the most important part of the channel and the main reason we keep going strong. Like Beau says, you keep the lights on in the fridge so the fridge is full. Or something like that. So, from everyone here at Nerd Soup, I'd like to thank you guys for your continued support. If you're interested in joining the ranks of our patron supporters, head over to patreon.com/nerdsoup and check out the rewards we offer to our patrons. We recently dropped some new stickers for you guys to check out, or you could choose a tier that will allow you to select a movie, show, or video game for us to review. We've got a full slate of fan-suggested reviews coming your way, and we're really excited about the chance to review some of those movies and shows. We've also got t-shirts, mugs, behind-the-scenes videos showing how we bring our videos to life. And once again, thank you to all our Patreon pledgers who have been supporting us throughout the years. Without you, we wouldn't be able to convert all your pledges into cryptocurrency, so thank you from my future self for making us broke.